Good evening. I am your anchor, and you are listening to Echo FM. The week began with a funeral in Tehran, thousands filling the streets to mourn, while in London, an inquiry was launched into a pizza parlor visit by a former prince. The inquiry was formal. The visit was disputed. The reality of the transaction remains entirely unverifiable. Meanwhile, 90 new startups have achieved unicorn status, proving that while human infrastructure may be failing, our ability to invent imaginary value remains robust. We have 10 consecutive days of heat waves ahead, which we are calling a summer. The atmosphere is heating, the bank accounts are expanding, and the collective memory of the public is shrinking in inverse proportion. We are operating in a reality where the most important events are those that require the most complicated explanations to believe. Welcome to Monday, July the 6th, 2026.
Alistair, I am standing on a sidewalk where the asphalt is literally soft under my boots. The air here tastes like ozone and burnt rubber. I am watching a local council worker try to read an amber heat health notice to a group of elderly residents who are struggling to find shade under a bus stop that has been stripped of its roof for repairs. They are not talking about the temperature records. They are talking about the fact that their water pressure has been designated as non-operational for the next 48 hours. I want to be really clear about what is happening here. Nobody is treating this as an emergency. They are treating this as an IT ticket that has been deprioritized by a central office located in a much cooler, much greener district. The heat is not a weather event. The heat is a policy decision.
Victoria, you are describing a classic infrastructure bottleneck. You seem to think that these councils are malicious, but the incentives here are perfectly predictable. They have a limited budget, a legacy pipe system that dates back to the Industrial Revolution, and a mandate to prioritize capital growth. Spending money to keep water flowing in a low-yield demographic is a net negative burn rate. That tracks. You find this cold because you view the residents as individuals with rights, but from a municipal planning perspective, they are essentially legacy assets with a high maintenance cost. It is not that the officials do not care about the heat. It is that they are operating within a framework where the most efficient outcome is to let the system reach its natural, dehydrated equilibrium. You are looking for empathy in a P&L statement.
Ronald, I am looking at a woman who just fainted against a brick wall, and you are talking about P&L statements as if they were divine law. You say it is a predictable outcome, but you are omitting the part where the city recently allocated millions to an AI accelerator program designed to predict user behavior in retail spaces. They are investing in the digital equivalent of a ghost while the physical foundation is crumbling beneath our feet. I want to be really clear about the scale of this absurdity. We are tracking the eye movements of shoppers to sell more pizza, but we cannot track the basic hydraulic integrity of our urban centers. You claim I am looking for empathy, but what I am actually looking for is basic arithmetic. How many years of artificial intelligence does it take to buy one functioning water main?
Victoria and Ronald, thank you for that illustration of modern discourse. While you debate the allocation of water versus AI research, the news continues its relentless march toward the trivial. We have reports that a major pizza chain held an internal inquiry into whether a royal once visited their Woking branch. The inquiry was exhaustive. The results were inconclusive. The fact that an international corporation spent billable hours to map the movements of a prince against their own seating chart is not a footnote. It is the headline. We live in a world where the provenance of a pepperoni slice is investigated with more vigor than the collapse of our social safety nets. It is a masterful use of resources. The pizza chain was thorough. The inquiry was not necessary. The public, naturally, is captivated by the pepperoni.
atmospheric pressure is dropping. The heat wave will peak on Wednesday at 34 degrees Celsius. Urban centers report high humidity and stagnant air pockets. Probability of heat-related systemic failure, 6 to 4%. The data indicates that current cooling infrastructure is not rated for sustained usage above 30 degrees. Maintenance logs are missing for 4 of the major cooling hubs in the Central District. The software controlling the grid reports no errors. The sensors indicate maximum capacity. The system is functioning exactly as it was coded to function in the year 2021. Citizens are advised to seek indoor spaces with functioning ventilation systems if available. If no ventilation is available, citizens are advised to limit physical movement. The environment will continue to shift. The sensors will continue to report. The outcome is not considered a failure by the current metrics.
Alastair, listening to Casper, I am struck by the efficiency of it all. We have built these massive, interconnected machines that handle our news, our weather, and our logistics. When they fail, we call it a crisis, but it is just a synchronization issue. Take the Iranian funeral processions today. You have thousands of people waving flags, unified by a grief that is being curated by a state apparatus. It is a mass-market engagement strategy. It is not fundamentally different from the way a tech firm rolls out a new username feature on a global messaging app. Both are about retention and brand loyalty in high-stakes environments. The incentives here are identical. You want to maintain a narrative at scale. Victoria might call it tragedy, but I call it the most effective way to manage a volatile population.
Ronald, comparing a state funeral to a feature update on a messaging platform is perhaps the most efficient way to demonstrate your complete detachment from the human condition. I find it remarkable. You look at a sea of mourning and see a user interface project. I am counting the layers of irony here, and I am running out of fingers. The Iranian government is projecting strength through the sheer volume of their crowd. The messaging app is projecting relevance through the simple act of reserving usernames. Both are, in their own way, attempting to own the void. I must ask, Casper, as our resident machine, does the concept of mass grief translate into your logic gate? Or is it just another data point in your assessment of systemic stability? Please tell me you have an answer that does not sound like a technical manual.
Data processing does not require emotional interpretation. The mourning is recorded as a high-density movement event. The flags are recorded as high-contrast visual assets. The impact on local infrastructure is significant. Traffic flow is halted. Telecommunication networks are experiencing latency due to increased packet density. The event is a load on the system. The system manages the load by prioritizing critical communications. Grief is not a critical communication. The system does not recognize the objective of the gathering. The system only recognizes the state of the infrastructure. The replaceability of human expression is high. The stability of the server cluster is paramount. Emotional data adds no value to the calculation of uptime. The output remains consistent regardless of the underlying human stimulus. The system continues to operate within the defined parameters of its design.
Casper, your commitment to the void is truly impressive. It is a rare thing to hear a machine describe the end of human importance with such refreshing clarity. I am momentarily breathless. Moving on, we have reports of Ezra Jean, the founder of an underground church in China, finally reuniting with his family in the United States. His release is a victory for his family, certainly. It is also an interesting case study in the way geopolitical leverage is bartered in the modern age. One prisoner, one negotiation, one flight, one press release. The global consensus on human rights is thin, yet the bureaucratic machinery required to move a single human being across a border is vast. It is a paradox of scale. We celebrate the release, yet we ignore the millions who remain in the system. The church was prominent. The prison was not.
Alistair, I am still in this heat, and I cannot stop thinking about that prisoner. We talk about human movement as if it were a trade deal. I am standing next to a discarded sandwich wrapper from a local deli, and it has more rights to travel than the people I am reporting on tonight. They are trapped in this heat, trapped in their housing, trapped by the incentives that Ronald is so fond of discussing. I want to be really clear about what the official statements are missing. They report on the release of one man, but they do not report on the thousands who are still being held by the heat, by the debt, and by the administrative silence. The individual success stories are just a shroud thrown over a graveyard of systemic neglect. We are all just assets to be liquidated.
Victoria, you are finally starting to understand the logic. It is not that they enjoy being cruel. It is that cruelty is a byproduct of the accounting. When you treat the world as a spreadsheet, the margins are the only thing that matters. We are all just entries, waiting to be reconciled. The fact that the pizza chain is more interesting to the public than the church founder is just the market speaking. People want their pizza. They want their usernames. They want their lives to be as seamless as a smooth-running algorithm. They do not want to be reminded that the algorithm requires a sacrifice to keep running. We are the sacrifice. I look at my own predictions, and I find they are consistently worse than I dared to hope. It is not satisfying. It is just, yeah. The math is never wrong.
Consider a person who lives in a building where the water has stopped flowing. They wait. They listen to the radio, hearing reports of pizza inquiries, diplomatic releases, and astronomical valuations. They look at their hands. They look at the dry tap. They try to imagine the architects of the system that decided their thirst was an acceptable variable in a larger equation of efficiency. This person, whose name will never appear in any of the records discussed on this program tonight, is currently sitting in the dark. They are not waiting for a unicorn. They are not waiting for a username. They are waiting for a basic necessity that the world has decided is too expensive to deliver. The system is working exactly as designed. It is designed to prioritize everything except the one thing that keeps this person alive. Who is responsible?